Good afternoon and welcome to this Daily Vox Hangout with me, Pilane Parker. And joining us today, we have Pontsho and Pilane, our Daily Vox. Hi, Raisa. Hi. And joining us from Cape Town, Raisa Pather.
Hi.
Cool. And of course, what we're talking about today is fees must fall, because there is literally nothing else to talk about in this country at this point if you are a young person. So let's just jump straight in and ask our reporters who were really in the thick of things, both in Cape Town and in Joburg, about your personal experiences of this protest. And I don't just mean like when people were marching, because when a lot of people suddenly noticed that something was going on. I mean, right at the beginning, when things started, I believe it was on that Friday with that big meeting of this. That's when it really started.
And it started on the Wednesday morning. Yeah. So I woke up to like hysterical WhatsApp from classmates saying that, oh my gosh, it's down, and I was just very confused. So I quickly made my way to it, and I found students sitting at the gate, not allowing any cars. There was very little police presence. Actually, there was no police presence, but the JMPD was there. Obviously trying to regulate the traffic, because there were reports that traffic was so backed up until Narrows Arch from Empire Road. So yeah, and then I just started talking to students. They're like, no, we don't want to keep increase. We're already studying, and we really do not want the fees to go any higher than they are. And already reports on mainstream media were already going out, and we were like talking, trying to put a story together already. And then the incident with the motorbike, the guy who ran through, who tried to run through students with his motorbike, and I was pretty biologically caught some of the students started. So I was like literally caught up in that whole physical altercation. I was right in the middle. It was so bad that some like story on other news websites had me right there in the middle. Because I was like right there. And so that's been because of violence at this.
So this was on the Wednesday, I think it was the Empire Road.
Yes.
And you think about that incident where the student decided, I'm just going to fly.
Exactly. And one of, I don't know if they were friends or they were just doing two players together. One of them came and was like literally shushing all the protesters, or like putting his hand over their faces and saying, shh, you don't get to talk, you don't get to play. And yeah, and so then the protest moved by, they were saying they're going to shut down the university, which they successfully did for now at 13 days. And they went into the disrupted some lectures and asked people to join them. This is a collective struggle and everything. And by midday that day, there was over, I could say 2,000 people who were participating in the protest on the line.
So when it started, there was a small BBQ.
Very small. I got to the Empire Gate. I first walked to the York Gate, that's in Garrison Street. And they were like, I remember counting 6 students there, blocking that entrance. And then I walked down to the Empire, and maybe about 15 to 20 students at the moment went up like 8 or 9 years. But I saw it build up until there were about 2,000 students, and I was shocked. Yeah, and that's basically how this process for the fees began.
So what you're saying is it's sort of like gaining traction, went viral in a sense.
Yes.
And that thing of disrupting lectures. We're not talking about disrupting lectures like really, telling everyone, get out there and study because
they
come
just
join
did,
us.
Yeah, they just did a round in the lecture theater. They were like, guys, this is like, they were just singing and they did a round in the lecture theater. That's all they did. They were not threatening anyone or doing anything that seems to be threatening to students. I was there, I worked with them. I worked with them throughout the disrupting of lessons, and we were there for 5 minutes at the most, and they were just calling students to join them in the protest. And then they proceeded to send it out, which is now currently in Solomon House.
Okay. And so, Raisa, for you, when did you know that something was going on in Cape Town?
Okay, well, it's 5 a.m. and the first thing I checked was like Twitter. And on Twitter, I saw that Rhodes University in Grahamstown had been shut down. And the reason that I found out was because RMF had tweeted it. So I was like, why is RMF awake so early? Why are they tweeting right now? And I went up to university because we had heard news that they might shut down, that all the campuses were in communication, and that there was going to be a shutdown around the Western Cape and Gauteng. And so when I got to campus, lower campus was shut down. This was at about 6 a.m., 6:30. It was very peaceful. They weren't even burning tires. They were just peacefully shutting down the campus. Students were complaining that they couldn't access the campus from lower, middle, or upper campus. And there was supposed to be a post-grad accounting exam that was supposed to be happening on upper campus. And there were a lot of students that were really, really upset that this exam had been postponed. And when I asked protesters what they had to say about this reporting that there were so many students who felt inconvenienced and that they were upset by the inconvenience, a lot of the students who were protesting replied, and they just said, well, look, students have to walk to upper every day. They're every day by the inequality at university. And as the day wore on, there started to be a lot more confrontation. So there'd be cars ramming through the blockade. There'd be motorcycles ramming through the blockade. Already on the first day, a student was taken away injured in an ambulance. They said that she broke her leg. But this was just the reaction to the protests. None of the protesters reacted violently at all. And then later that night, we heard that the University of Cape Town had a court interdict against students who were occupying Bremner Building. And the police came on the same day at the protest, firing stun grenades, firing tear gas, and that sort of changed the narrative a little bit because the students were peaceful and we had videos, we had audio showing that they were just sitting down when the police fired these stun grenades.
So I found it very interesting that at that time, we knew reporting was from the gates. We were literally like giving us line by line of what's happening now. And on Twitter and on radio, we keep hearing about like, oh, it's violence to the protests and religious violence. And as Raisa says, particularly in the beginning, whatever violence there was coming from people being violent towards protesters.
Yes, like I said earlier, the incident with the three guys, right? And I got a lot of slack on Twitter for mentioning that they were right. And I mentioned that because there was a lot of white students who felt very inconvenienced by the protest. And it's something that we could talk about at length as why, but we know why, because they're not as affected by fee increments at university as well as the black students. So there was a lot of violence towards the protesters. But I think also the narrative that was about violence that just came from everywhere was because there's this anxiety always about black bodies gathering. So black people gather for whatever reason. There's already people who feel that they need to be alarmed and something bad is going to happen. And I personally saw that happen at this. You know, the students, they were not even enough at the beginning to actually do anything to anyone if they really actually wanted to. And also, as like day one progressed into the evening, when you saw people saying they can't do campus, and people were like, some people were crying at the gates, well, there were other instances open to walk out. You know, a very well-known celebrity even said, "Who's a student at this?" Like she doesn't feel like she can be in the car at this. And for me, I was very, very annoyed by that assumption that being in a car with people protesting means something going to happen to your car. And so there was that narrative, and even when we tried to clear it up, when we tried to say, no, actually, really nothing really happening here. No one's beating anyone up. No one's like taking anyone. I mean, one of the basically with the knife, the gun, and also tried to run with the car that almost ran into on the first day. So there was this collective violence towards the protesting students, but it wasn't documented very clearly. Yeah.
So then the tide kind of turned very quickly because Rachel was saying that night at Premier, when the students were picketing, I suppose, outside the administrative building, and the cops came in and they quite heavy handed. Yeah. And there was social media, as I say, especially documenting things. Maybe something that really helps these days. Because that incident at Bremner, you were there, you took lots of video and audio and things, and there were other people filming interactions between the students and the police, the lecturers and the police, and exactly what happened.
Yeah. At Bremner Building, the students actually hadn't made a united decision to occupy the building. It was only after they got the court interdict that they decided, well, look, this is how they're reacting, this is how management is reacting to us. We might as well occupy the building and stay put tonight and show that we actually are here to stay, that this protest deserves to be taken seriously. By the end of the night, when police actually went in, the majority of the students were outside Bremner on the steps, sitting, singing Senzeni with their hands up when police went inside. And the police actually blocked journalists from going inside, and that was when they fired tear gas. So we couldn't even be there, and you must understand that the tear gas was fired in a confined space, which is a lot more harmful than it being fired outside in an open space. Students were literally throwing water bottles from outside to the upstairs balcony to help the students upstairs. And it was a really disproportionate response to unarmed protesters.
So the next day, that's when things got a bit hectic, when the students decided to go home. Right? And then we saw two things. Well, we saw three things. We saw disproportionate violence in front of the police. We saw this thing we were talking about, how black bodies are perceived as being violent. And then we had people going, oh, can our white colleagues stand in the front? We saw that as well, because it's so many levels. And we also saw a very sudden turn in the tone of reporting that was happening. Can I speak a little bit about any of this?
So I think being a lit student, Aisha and myself, it made it very easy for us to be able to report accurately on the protest at Lit from the very beginning, because first we're familiar with the students, and we also have cultural proximity. So we know where everything is on campus, happens on our campus and everything. So I think in the beginning, there was this, it was just us really like on the ground doing the work and everything. And then all of a sudden, when students themselves took to social media and were posting videos on Facebook and on Twitter, and then they say, this is actually what is happening to us right now. And then also that created I don't want to say a threat, but it discredited what was happening in media as a whole, because now the students are telling the story as it's happening to them. We saw this as well with in the US with Ferguson. That's when the media turned as well. So I think the media had to turn, otherwise they would be blatantly lying when students are on social media and showing what is happening on their campuses through their own lenses. So I think it turned mainly because of what happened in Parliament. I mean, that was excessive violence. No one can, like, you cannot justify, no one can justify what happened in Parliament, outside Parliament, like when inside. So I think that's when the turn started to happen, when also students took it upon themselves to become the tellers of their own story.
Can I add anything there?
Also, for example, when UCT students went to the police station to protest in solidarity with their fellow students who were arrested, they asked white students to form a human chain around them, which was, in a way, a confrontation to this media representation that black bodies are violent. Because they're saying directly, look, this is how you treat white bodies. White bodies can stand in the front lines and be, treated as with respect, treated as peaceful protesters, whereas the black bodies behind them actually need to be protected by them, because this is a state of representation, this is a state of the society that we live in, that it's acceptable to treat the black body with violence. And so when media had to show those photographs of, these white protesters standing in the front, it was a confrontation that, the narrative had to change, because students themselves were trying to take that narrative on and show them, look, we know what you're doing, and this is the way that things are, and we're gonna, show that in our protests.
So when the students were protesting, I think it's a curious thing about this whole event, the whole movement really. At UCT, I think it was Musima Mane who decided to come and chat to the students, and the students just told him, like, just get lost, we don't want you here. And then I think it was Coach who came outside Parliament and also tried to talk to the students, and they also told him, look, you lost. Yeah. And Blade Mzimande eventually came to talk to people, and he tried to rile everybody up with his Amandla, and everybody was just like, no, Blade must go.
Yeah.
So while their struggle is a political struggle, I mean, they want something, they want power, they want, not power, but they want change made to benefit their interests, like their students, this is what they want. A lot of the students are politically aligned, so they're led by an SRC often, or another student organization, and the SRCs usually are politically aligned. So you have organizations like the NCDP or whoever else there is. But they don't want to seem to be aligned publicly with big political organizations, or they don't want politicians to come in and take over their movement, or I don't know, steal their limelight. What is it? What's going on there? It seems a political being, but they don't want the politicians involved. And I think that, yeah.
Sorry, just speaking at UCT, I mean, Rhodes Must Fall had already been established as a movement at UCT. And from the onset, Rhodes Must Fall rejected any sort of political interference. To an extent, they even rejected UCT's SRC in becoming involved in the politics on campus within the movement Rhodes Must Fall. And so when, Musi Maimani, when Helen Zille tried to talk to people at Stellenbosch, there's this key idea that this must be a movement that is led by students. We're not here to take direction from political leaders, because there's a sense that political leaders, the elders in parliament, have failed the youth of today. And now the youth have to take up the mantle to lead their own struggle instead of being led by politicians who, in the past have promised a free education, but have failed to deliver. So now they don't want politicians to come and hijack or try to get any votes or try to, capitalize on their struggle. What they want is to be led themselves, and they don't want anybody else to have a say in how they are led or what is right and what is wrong in what they're doing.
But can you have a movement that is not politically aligned and have that movement be sustainable and stay unified?
So the very essence of the Fees Must Fall protest nationwide are political, but we have taken it upon themselves to become one-party. So yes, we're political, yes, this is political in its nature, but we do not want to be affiliated with a political party. That was what the message that was coming from numerous student movements across the different university campuses. Right? But I think it was also very important to say that some of the students, if not most, are very politically aligned with whatever, whether it's the ANC, whether it's EFF, whether it's DASO, whatever, right? But I think throughout the movement, it was very, very clear that they would want to put the political affiliations aside. And to a certain extent, I think they did that very well. Well, I wasn't there during meetings all the time, but I think it was very important, and it really removed the politics of it. But we also had like kumbaya moments where Demetlanini and Brianna Bambo were walking, leading the crowds with an EFF and an Instagram. That I saw a lot of captions on social media about, wow, is this really, like, this is so big. Who would have thought in South Africa this would happen, right? It's cute, but I really think, it's really sincerely, people really felt that it was non-partisan. But I do not think we should vilify students that are politically aligned to anything. I think everyone is politically aligned, whether we are vocal about it. I think it was harder for the students within these movements or within these movements to shy away from that political affiliation because of the nature of the protest. And it was sometimes used against them in that. But can a movement that's not politically aligned be sustainable in the long term? How do you, like, without a structure backing you, how do you keep a particular agenda on the burn long term if there's no structure behind it? Is it possible? I think it is possible, and let's look at the fact that Rhodes Must Fall, and Mary can say more about this because she's more familiar with that, how they've been able to keep going for almost a year now, and they are like explicitly non-partisan, and they've dealt with issues within the movement that might have been politically aligned in any way whatsoever, and they've dealt with them, and they keep on being able to move forward without that structure that is needed. So I don't know. I think it is possible. I think it's hard, but it's not impossible.
Okay.
In terms of what was happening here, there were lots of political. When I went to Parliament, for example, I was actually quite shocked because it was the first time that I'd seen so many students from so many different political parties, band together to protest at the gate of Parliament. When I asked a student protester, I said, how come there's so many protesters here? I mean, politically affiliated protesters here. How can we see so many SASPA students? How can we see so many EFF students? And they were saying to me, well, look, the political parties are here because it's easier to gain momentum. It's easier to gain a following because they have so many students who follow them. So it brings in a bigger crowd. But there was also a bit of dissent. So, for example, students would look at the EFF student political party on the ground, and they would say, "Look, it's just a group of men. There are no women there," which means that, like, there's a certain you can see the disruptions, you can see the disturbances, that it's not always going to be united. And now there's a lot of dissent about SASCO's involvement. For example, at UWC, they're led by SASCO, but now SASCO hasn't supported the protest going forward. They want to step back and write exams. So again, there's a bit of disruption. I think that it's necessary for some of the political student parties to be there just to grow the numbers and just to get that more support. And I do think it's necessary for there to be clearly defined student leaders. We didn't have the same situation as WITS, where there were 4 names or a certain amount of names that were leading the movement. That wasn't really happening here as much. And students are eventually going to say, we need better leadership than this. We need somebody who can actually make decisions. Because now we're caught in this trap of, should they write exams? Should they protest? And they need a leadership body to get this dialogue going and to get some kind of consensus.
We have the same difficulties, I think, at the numerous occasions I was frustrated throughout the protest, where there is this flat structure of leadership, right, where no one person has the authority to say anything, which is great, right? Everyone, that's basically democracy. But it becomes difficult when decisions have to be made, right? For example, at the we call it the Fantastic Four. So Shaira, Nompendulo, Debo, and Biani are called the Fantastic Four. And they were at the forefront throughout the protest, right? But being on the ground as much as I did, I would say that there are other students that were very involved in that movement that did not get the same publicity, right? And I was having a conversation with friends of mine about how this is so reminiscent of, let's take it to apartheid time, where Nelson Mandela became the face of the political struggle for democracy in South Africa, and a lot of people were away. It was easy for it to happen because there was no social media. There was no Twitter to be like, I'm actually doing this. Oh, wait a minute. But now, and this is very linked to the fallout that is happening at the moment. The fact that students can go onto their personal accounts and say, actually, I'm not happy with this. So I think leadership is important, but I also really appreciate the mass meetings that were happening where, even though they took 5 hours, everybody's concern was raised in some way and was like, they were addressed. Everyone's concerns were addressed. Yeah, it's like really democracy in action. Yes. Yeah. I don't know if it will work like on a larger scale of South Africa.
This is the democratic process slow and tedious, but worth it. You were speaking about UWC earlier, Lisa, and something you mentioned earlier, the underreporting of events at other institutions. So we have the Fantastic Four bits here, very well known. At UCT, there isn't really one person that stood out as a leader, but there are those images of students, at Parliament, so they got a lot of traction in that way. But at other universities, there are so many institutions in this country, spread out geographically, far-flung places, where there are protests going on, there are disputes between management and students going on, and they will be about it.
Yeah, and I think it's firstly historically Black institutions and universities, right? For example, let's just look at TT. Every single year, that the road comes over to Pretoria is blocked off by TT students protesting. A lot of the times we don't know why, because it's just, TT students burn tires and threw rocks in the road. And it's never really completely documented why. But so it's the plight of students at HBIs has been very, very undercovered. I think for years. I think this is the first time in my time at Wits where the free protest was taking this seriously. And so I think we always complain, fees are so high, and then we get over it and we hustle the 9.3 thousand rand to reach the end. So I think there is really not just under-reporting, also misrepresentation. As so Wits was held for their very peaceful protests throughout the week, which is great, right? And so somebody challenged the narrative to me and saying, why shouldn't GT students or other university students burn tires, right? Or do whatever they want? There were people at Wits actually who wanted things to burn. Many, many times I was talking to you guys a lot of times. I'm like, I don't know what's about to happen. And you guys were like, just stay safe. I was like, no, I haven't strategy out of this place. And so there were students, even at Wits, even though peaceful protest was the thing that prevailed, that wanted to bring things back. And so that narrative, I think they didn't want to get caught into that narrative because it also is reflective of what we as a society, like institutions. So I think that's why it is also so underreported because they are always deemed as violent. They don't always protest.
And in a sense, it's easy to write them off as, oh, students are burning
Yes.
tires. They obviously don't have anything useful to say. Right? Lisa, you were at UWC. You saw what happened historically Black university protests, and the media is, sitting on Jameson's steps recently.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, I think the protest at Wits started on Wednesday, right? And on Thursday night, it was really bad. They were sitting outside in Robert Sobukwe Road. I wasn't there, but I know that they were sitting outside. I spoke to students when police, because Robert Sobukwe Road is quite a main road. It's a road that also leads to the airport. It's one of the main roads of the N2. And tear gas, water cannons, rubber bullets. There were rumors going around that there was live ammunition that was fired. That wasn't true. And even when the students ran into campus, right, they literally, the first they ran into an informal settlement trying to hide away. They literally ran into people's homes seeking shelter. And then they managed to find their way back onto campus, right? They thought that they would be safe on campus, but police were still lobbing tear gas over the gates. And that's when the students decided, look, this isn't working. We don't want them on our campus. And they burned bins at the gates. A bin which they had initially taken out to take rubbish and to clear up after themselves. They burnt it at the gate to keep the police out. That was the only form of protection that they had for themselves. That's what they thought. And they said that campus security did nothing to protect them either, so they felt like they had no alternatives but to burn that bin. And nobody was there that night. The students were literally issuing cries for media to come on social media. But by the time that media got there, everything was already done. They were having counseling sessions in the student center. UCT students had arrived to come and help them out and show solidarity. They brought medical supplies. There were cries for donations, but it was too late. The harm had been done. Students had been injured. I think at least 2 students were injured really badly, and nobody was there to cover it. And then, I mean, in the aftermath, there were more mainstream media there. But this is the thing about being a historically Black university. It seems like it's easier for media to ignore historically Black universities because they don't have the prestige that historically white universities like UCT, like Stellenbosch do. They don't garner the media attention that those universities do because they don't have the celebrity, they don't have the fame to get that attention, which is really unfortunate because at the end of these fees must fall protests or as they continue, these universities and their students are likely the ones to be struck the hardest because they don't have as many resources as other universities, and they're also allocated very far out on the fringes like Bellville, which is very far from the CBD.
Sounds like the further you are from the center of action in major cities, the more things can just sort of happen without anyone noticing. Which, and this is sort of deviation from what we're talking about, in Grahamstown at the moment, there are some serious xenophobic issues going on, violence, and doesn't really affect the national discussion just yet. So, just to close out, what's happening now? Where are we going to now? Because we've seen this, we've had the Fantastic Four and the Unified Front, but now the crisis is going to show. So what happens?
So I think with anything that is born, you see it rise, the excitement of it rise, and we saw it for the past 11 days. And now I think it's coming to places people are cracking, tired, fatigued, emotional. I mean, there were days where I was just like, I want everyone to die. Like I wanted to kill everyone. I was stressed, and I was there in my capacity as a reporter. So what about the students that are constantly in the struggle? I think it's very important what's happening with the cracks that are happening, even if some of the stories are really just shockingly exaggerated. exaggerated. But I think it's important. And like I said, because this didn't happen in the dispensation of democracy in this country, because we didn't have social media and all of this stuff, I don't think we had the bravery and the leaders to do this. I'm glad this is happening now. And like one of Annalise Monday, who was like at the forefront of this as well, she likes saying that we are doing this for the first time. We will make mistakes. And I think it's okay for them to make mistakes. And but with people watching while you make mistakes, it's added pressure. But I'm glad we're following, and I hope that end outsourcing is really something that is prioritized within the movement, even if the students are returning to university tomorrow or in days ahead. I think it's a fight that students have started, and not only to the workers but to themselves as people that have mobilized so many South Africans to put it on the outsourcing mandate.
Okay, so what's going on? A lot of them are back. UCT is back, Stellenbosch is back. UWC, what's going on there?
UCT actually isn't back. UCT is cancelled the rest of the week. They postponed classes until Friday. I think Stellenbosch has done the same. UWC is meanwhile closed indefinitely. They're meant to start exams on the 2nd of November, but now with the student protest ongoing, the university has just released a statement and said, we're closed indefinitely. We don't know when we'll open as yet. And I think moving forward, because there's been a lot of unison among the students, not just the students within campuses, but among students in like outside campuses and different campuses coming together to protest. And now with this whole disagreement about whether they should write exams, whether they should, continue the protest, it's going to be interesting to see how it unfolds, because right now they need to make a decision, and they need to make as much of it to keep the momentum going and to ensure that down the road, because I think that this is going to be very protracted and very long, so that down the road, the factors that might happen now aren't going to affect them later. So yeah.
Okay. Guys, thank you so much for your time. Thank you so much for your reporting. And I hope that everybody, especially the students who've been caught up in all the sticks and downs, can you say, it's not easy to be protesting and being on the front lines with lots of often negative energy for an extended period of time, and then come out of that and then have to go miss it. Yeah. So good luck, everyone, and thanks for joining us for the Daily Vox. We hope you'll join us for another hangout in the future.